Good. Well, this morning we're going to start with a visiting friend. She's been here for quite a while. And the first name is easy to say, Barbra. The second one is a little challenge. Help me pronounce it.
D'Engle.
D'Engle.
Yes.
Good to see you again.
Thank
Happy
you.
holidays to you.
And thank you, and same to you.
You
Yes.
all the way from South Africa.
Yes, all the way from South Africa. But of course, being an astrologer, it really doesn't matter where I am. We're always, astrologers are always looking up at the heavens and at the world around us and saying, wow, now how will this play out in this wonderful human drama that we're all part of?
Good. We're going to come to this in a while. I suppose that's the time of the year people like yourself and others that know there are people fascinated by the stars. And we're going to do a program with a difference this morning. We're going to leave the normal tradition of getting, state activities and so on. I suppose travel to areas many people are certainly interested in and follow. And Barbra is going to help us this morning. She's an astrologist. And this is your first Christmas in Grenada. What it would have been like had you been in South Africa?
Wow, that's...
The contrast is different in celebrations?
No, not really.
Not really.
We have a lot of church activities
Okay.
around this year.
Okay. Christmas cards?
Yes, Christmas cards, yes, sir. That's the
Carols?
one thing we haven't seen. Christmas carols,
Uh-huh.
really only at church gatherings.
Okay.
But everybody goes to Christmas service, and it's usually longer because you get to sing all your favorite Christmas carols. And of course, we have very large shopping malls, which are an absolute nightmare of humanity shoved into small spaces, all carrying packages. But yes, there's always a wonderful atmosphere and attitude of goodwill. And I always ask, why can't we take this goodwill attitude and extend it to every single day? But of course, that's not the way life goes.
There's a new year in Grenada. There'll be parties into the old year,
Yes.
beginning the old year and into the new year. And there's also church services. So what's it like in South Africa? How do people usher in the new year?
The same way, New Year, when New Year arrives, it's very noisy because everybody runs out and blows the car horn and shouts and plays Auld Lang Syne. So yeah, no, we have much in common, The African population just really knows how to party,
Okay.
What they say, white people don't really party, but this is what we have missed, is the African beat. Wherever African people get, there's always a drum. Da-da-da-da-da-da-da. And everybody is just ready to dance, and that's
have
amazing.
You and your husband, who's here with you, have you enjoyed a couple of Grenadian parties? Have you gone to a couple of Grenadian parties, discotheque or whatever it is?
We live very close to several places that
Okay.
play really good music,
Okay.
so it's wonderful. We don't always go to the clubs,
Okay.
but we jump up and we dance. And I believe that the Grenadian people have a different way of speaking about dancing. Is hopping, or is that Jamaican?
There's the Jamaican reggae, there's the hip hop, there's so many versions. I
Yes.
suppose they all still linked to dancing. And one other thing, the calypso. You understand the Caribbean calypso?
Yes,
All right.
yes. It's
Okay.
quite amazing.
Right. So you have integrated a bit.
I beg your
You
pardon?
have integrated a bit into the culture of the
Oh
Caribbean.
yes, I think so. My husband's been here before.
Okay.
And so for many years he was explaining many things to me. So for me it was like coming home.
Okay.
And it's really nice. And while I say the word home, that really links me back into what I've been looking at as an astrologer
And that's
for
what I
what
want to
lies
ask you about
ahead.
this morning, because
Yes.
there's a big population in the world that use the start of the year, I suppose, listen to astrologers and others.
Yes.
And you have made that a science. No, not you. Well, the world has made it a science, but you have made it a career. This is a leap year. Next year is a leap year.
That's right. Yes.
So, I guess, what are your pontifications? What are you seeing ahead?
What am I seeing ahead? Well, this is one of the few years where coming events have certainly cast their shadows before them. We've seen how people are, it's like everybody's waking up, starting to see things clearly, questioning where in the past people had the old opinion of, well, the government's in charge, they'll fix it, which is like a very immature. When you're a child, you believe your parents can fix everything, and then you have to step into the world of adulthood eventually. And I think this is generally happening for human beings. We're seeing it on the economic levels, where people are thinking, why is my money costing me so much to manage? So we are going to see over the next 16 years a period of reconstruction of absolutely every part of our lives, from the economy to the political to the personal contribution that each and every person can make. We've all been hearing how each one of us has a carbon footprint on the planet, based on the amount of energy we use and waste products that we create. But on the inner levels, human beings are the greatest polluters. Nature doesn't get nasty with each other, human beings do.
Quite agree with you.
Nature doesn't abuse anything, human beings do. Nature doesn't say, just believe me, and then lead you down the garden path. Humans do that. And humans are the ones that say, oh sure, if you're in charge, I'll follow. And this is how humans have been. If you look back over history, it's like the voice of people every now and then was heard, but not often. We had the French Revolution, where the voice of the people was heard. We had Tiananmen Square in China, where the voice of the people was heard. We've had suddenly, thanks to all the social media, people are seeing that voices can be heard around the world and supported by other people who can understand what's happening. So, yes, the prophecies, the Mayan prophecies which said, yes, 2012 will be the time when life changes. Some people say at the end of the world, but as an astrologer, I'm saying everything that we thought was working properly is going to be proved not so.
I guess maybe religious people, some people may argue, what is the premise of that message that you have just
exactly
highlighted?
Yes,
so
and the message behind it is humans have to wake up to the fact that anything that happens on earth is not just God's will. How do you see God's will taking shape in the world? It's through human being, hands and feet. Yeah.
Quite agree with that.
And so humans are going to have to wake up to, if our government isn't doing what we could, it's because we've allowed them not to. If our spiritual life isn't, if God isn't changing me, making me a better person, then maybe I need to wake up and start working on myself. So everything that we believed somebody else would fix for us is going to end up in our inbox, on our own doorstep, and require a personal effort by humans to say, well, this is what we have. How do we fix it? And what I'm seeing through all the astrological indications is that humans are going to start to develop their own God-given powers of innovation. and support each other so that everybody can grow into a greater awareness of where we are. And where are we? We live on this most amazing world. We live in these most amazing bodies. For too many years, humans have abused all of these.
So you through this analysis you have on a sheet here, and you want to give our viewers a sense of the analysis you have drawn up. I noticed some of the planets have Pluto.
Yes, that's right.
So you want to help us?
So astrology is the study of cycles, and some planets move very quickly, like the moon. It moves around the zodiac every 28 and a half days. The sun moves around the zodiac in 365 days, 365 and a bit, and then of course we have a leap year where they add all those bits for 4 years and give the sun an extra day. So the people that are born on the 29th of February will have a birthday this year. The other planets, we have larger planets, the trans-Saturnial planets, other side Saturn, we have Jupiter and Saturn. These are the bigger planets that have larger orbits, and so they take a far longer time to move around the zodiac. And I have been looking at 4 planets. Jupiter, which has a 12-year cycle, and Jupiter has moved into the sign of Capricorn. Now, Jupiter is the bringer of blessings. Yes, a Jupiterian person is a jovial person, has a belly, a good laugh, very philosophical and lucky. So the planet of Jupiter, wherever it comes in, can bring wonderful proper developments, but it can also increase excesses. Taurus, which is the sign that Jupiter is in, rules the earth and finances. So here we come, a planet of excess into the earth, banking. So we could see major growth, economic growth, or we could see economic wastage. And the end results are difficult to predict just because, as you said, of human nature. Because that's the one thing humans have been given that nobody can take away, is the ability to say, I'm going to do the right thing, or somebody else can do it. So this is why I'm saying that all of these things are bringing humans to a point where they have to realize, if you really do practice any kind of religion or honor any kind of creator, you need to start showing it properly, not just in what you say, but in what you do.
I guess that's the difficult part.
Exactly. And this is why humans need to wake up, because there's no real guideline for how do we put all of this into practice when things around us are changing so rapidly. Because never in the history of humanity have there been so many changes, climatic as well as in the structure of the world around us. And then the next planet that I'm looking at is Saturn. Saturn in astrology rules limitations and rules and structure, constructive action. Saturn is symbolized as Father Time.
Father Time.
Father Time. Old Father Time.
Old Father.
You see the old man with the scythe? Yes, when it's outlived its purpose, we need to cut it down and allow new growth to come. Now Saturn, the planet of structure, has been moving through the sign of Libra, which is relationships and relating and legal matters. So Saturn is kind of like adding an influence that allows people to look at how relationships and morality are structured. And it's not just close relationships as in people getting married because they feel it's the right thing to do, but people forming alliances, which leads us into politics and business once again, is how do we make good alliances that work for everybody? Because Libra is a sign of fairness. You know, so we've already been seen, everybody's talking about, hey, but this isn't fair, and, you know, so it's opened up a lot of potential for negotiation. And we'll get back to that negotiation too. The next planet I'm looking at is the planet Uranus, which rules dramatic and unexpected change. Innovation, technological development, really big issues that can change everything. Now Uranus has just moved into the sign of Aries, which is the sign of the pioneer, the groundbreaker, the let's get it done now. So you can imagine, along with all of these other things comes this dynamic energy of let's get together, let's change things. Now, but it's also very impulsive. So we can, and we'll see it in governments all the way down into our own personal lives, where people will want to change something so quickly that they don't think further at what the long-range implications of the actions will be.
I guess that's one of the challenges the world faces.
Exactly, because there's always a backlash to anything we do, whether it's positive or negative. And this is why human beings will be faced with the consequences of impulsive actions. And they put it on a personal level, you know.
But isn't it human nature to behave in that manner?
Oh, exactly. However, if you're driving along in front of me and you take my parking space and I jump out and I beat you, that I've done impulsively because you took something from me. But when I sit in court 3 years later and have to explain, you know, and the judge says, but, you know, there was a different way to do it. Why didn't you do it? Oh, I didn't think. And this is the thing, is that if humans want to progress and grow spiritually, they need to start thinking. You know, you can't say, oh, gee, I beat you. Well, I'm sorry, I said my prayers and I'm fine now. Why are you still cross with me? So there will be many challenges to what we believed would fix things compared to the reality. However, on the other hand, Uranus is a planet that says, let's all get together and do things. And Aries is a sign of what can we do to change it, to move it forward, to break new ground, to pioneer, to innovate. So we're probably going to see a tremendous growth. Uranus will be in Aries for another 7 years. So I think we're going to see a 7-year period of tremendous technological development. Ecological development, I think we're going to have more technological advances improving everybody's lives than could ever, even today at the beginning of this period, we cannot even imagine what is still going to come out. But it will also involve people in a more hands-on way, because Aries is a sign that says, stop talking, let's do something. You know, don't tell me what you believe, show me what you're doing. So there's this confrontation looming between what we think we want to say and what we can actually do. So it's like there's a call for action, a call to change things, and we've seen things coming along because the scientists have been saying yes this and yes that, and governments have been saying either yes or no depending on what their political strategy is. But there's this, everybody is feeling the need to change, and Aries, 0 degrees Aries, is the horizon, the equator that runs on the lines of latitude around, or lines, parallels of longitude around the world. So when the sun enters Aries, or 0 degrees Aries, that is traditionally the beginning of spring in the northern hemisphere. But in astrology, 0 degrees Aries is the beginning. In the olden days, 0 degrees Aries was actually the new year. Not December, but the new year was when the sun moved into the sign at the first degree of spring, literally.
So you have sat down, pencil and paper. It is a mathematical calculations. Yes. The interpolation thereof is, what would we say, more a psychological thing, is how would these things affect human beings? Okay.
And you have to understand, and everybody else, that a prediction is just that. What we can see the potential of and what human beings do with it are always two different things.
You fascinated? I suppose you would look back on every year and having maybe given your predictions or your astrologist assumptions. Have you been able to see similar things that you have said?
Similar things. The last time Uranus was in Aries was in the early 1930s, late 1920s, early 30s, where we saw major inventions. We saw the growth of the motor car industry, which changed everything. We saw the growth of communism.
Okay.
We saw the growth of the Nazis, gradually started building up their power. We, of course, saw the Depression. We saw the growth of the entrepreneurial spirit as people who had lost everything were forced to create new businesses for themselves. So taking just some of those things and bringing them into the modern age with all the other opportunities here, we can safely say that people will find very innovative ways of adjusting to the major changes that lie ahead. Because nothing can continue forever. You know, it's a rule in business, and you've seen it too in your life. You may start a business. The minute you sell your business, the business changes because it's not driven by you.
Right.
Every philosophy is wonderful while the leader or the proponent is alive, and then when they fall away, the followers can't quite make it work that way. And so what I'm seeing here is not so much one person, gurus or teachers or leaders leading, but more people joining together. And it looks very idealistic right now, but more group involvement. I think perhaps the world is moving towards a better understanding of democracy. What we see in democracy now is a couple of leaders elected by a bunch of people. But true democracy should be all the people sitting together and deciding. So I think we will see over the next 7 to 16 years far greater involvement of the normal public person in the issues that directly involve their lives.
So you would say the Arab Spring is a sort of demonstration of, because Arab countries were generally a ruler and people follow. Mm-hmm. Now it seems to be becoming, a more open society where many more people have a say.
Yes, but however, look at what happens when, can I call it the Plutarchy? What happens when your power base is undermined by the very people that you thought you had controlled? So we will also see in these 16 years an increase of power, draconian measures, control of the media, because the people who are in control will find it very frightening to give back or have that control taken over. So we may go through a period where there will be far more control over particularly the media, which allows a free exchange of information. And I've made a couple of points here. It's very interesting about the EU and the unified currency that is suddenly very, very wobbly. Right. Yes. And I do know that everybody is now involved in discussions and negotiations, etc., etc. But up until the first week of February, we're not going to see too many good strategies coming from it. And I think in the first week of February, the financial standoffs are actually going to reach a deadlock where nothing moves and nobody can go anywhere. And eventually, as they move out of that, they'll structure something. However, it's going to come back to haunt them again round about June, July, August. So they will construct what they think is a permanent solution. But so I'm saying financially, I think nobody should believe that everything's going to get better. until after June or July, where people can actually see that they've woken up and they're doing things properly.
I guess if you talk to, I suppose, the French and German leaders, they would perhaps want to believe that they have laid the foundation
Exactly.
for maybe some stability.
Yes.
And then you have Cameron, the British Prime Minister, having a different view of the whole thing. So I guess it will evolve with a lot of interest, particularly in the Western world.
Yes, exactly. And I do believe that the debates will probably become a lot more, I wouldn't say aggressive, but really confrontational.
So you think it could be confrontational?
Yes, because
Between liberals and conservative thinkers?
this is the big thing. The conservative thinkers are still trying. It's like when Humpty Dumpty fell off the wall. There's no ways you can hold a cracked egg together again. Something's going to leak out. And this is the big issue here, is how do we hold this egg together? And eventually you'll end up just with a shell.
So your predictions are difficult times.
Difficult times, very difficult. However, what comes out of this will be far better and a far more unusual solution. Because I think what we're going to find is more and more people are going to be saying, but what else can we do as people? Not the government saying, well, just pay up more taxes and pull in your belt and whatever's, but people saying, well, yes, all right, this is what you've told us to do. How can we do it? So this is what I'm seeing, is that people are going to ask the questions that will empower them to be more effective and efficient in their daily lives, so that they can all feel that they're actually contributing to it and grow. So this is why I'm saying this is the maturing process for humanity, is what everyone can do and how they can move themselves into a more empowered and constructive place in the world.
I guess the question, you said that's a 16-year cycle.
It's a 16-year cycle. However, there is a plus side to it.
Okay.
It all depends on a person's attitude. You can become fearful of what could go wrong and fearful of change, or you can say, wow, we do live in changing times. How best can I work with it? And you will see that in the attitudes of politicians, business people, religious leaders, everybody. We are all faced with the need to renew and move into different levels.
That is the difficult challenge. Accepting change, being comfortable with whatever.
Exactly.
And then you are asking me, if not to gamble, but to give someone else an opportunity that would maybe make it better. This is the unknown part. Yes,
this is the unknown part. However, I do believe that is at the root of most of the spiritual teachings anyway. Okay. If more people are doing the right thing in the right way, not doing the right thing because they're scared of somebody who's going to put them in an uncomfortable place one day when they die, but literally feeling like I'm having a positive effect on life. I don't have to say, oh, please forgive me, I've been so bad, but wow, I've really actually done something good that I can be proud of. So I think we're going to see a rising tide of humans taking pride in what they actually can do. So where the balance has been between the very wealthy people who have everything and the people who don't have everything, seen from a financial point of view, to the people that don't have everything but are finding innovative ways to make their lives better. And what will happen is that their quality of life and their spiritual attitude will take each person to a different level. And that's the secret.
I certainly hope that secret works for all of us.
But it
beautiful
will.
secret.
Yes, it will. It's not. It's not an ideal.
Okay.
Every person, you know, if you wake up in the morning and you're creaky and you do a few exercises and your back feels better, you feel good about yourself. Humans like to be useful. It's just that we haven't always been able to be useful because we've sat back and had done what our governments or leaders or whatever said we should be doing. And that is what is going to tip the balance into bringing life into a format that is uplifting and comfortable for far more people than we ever imagined possible.
That's a positive way to end the year.
Yes,
a
I think
positive
so.
message to start the year too.
Yes.
And I hope certainly that more people see that way.
Yeah.
Don't sit back and ask, just take instructions. You too be creative, you too be thoughtful. And you have been doing this for how many years now? A lot of years.
A lot of years. If I give that away, I'll give my age away.
Don't worry, you look it up. Well, Barbra, I want to thank you for dropping by this morning. I want to wish you and your husband the very best. I know it's going to be a challenge in 2012, but you seem to have at least given a picture that if we all be active participants in our own life,
Exactly.
whether
Yes.
it's spiritual, economic,
Yes.
social, we certainly will be able to change things and make it better. And I do look forward to all Grenadians being a part of that awareness campaign of be a part of everything, just not be a spectator, observer, and complain, but do something that will make a difference to just not your life, but the entire country. Barbra, let me wish you and your husband a wonderful new year.
Thank you, Ray, and the same to you.
Great to see you, and I hope you continue to enjoy your stay in Grenada.
Thank you, I will.
Good luck.